Makaylee Gayed. I am 31 and my business is Makaylee Gayed. I was a apparel design student in the TMFD department and I graduated in 2017. My time at UNL actually started in the international business program, and I was always taking art electives, and one of the professors was talking to a student about sewing, and I went over and helped them, and they're like, well, why aren't you in the apparel design department? I'm like, we don't have that as an option. Like, we do. I'm one of the students, so I changed my major once I realized it was an option here, and it was a great change for me. I love doing like creative things. I've been sewing since I was 8 years old. I was working retail at the time and I was always helping people style outfits or being like, well, if I was making that, I would change this detail. So I think it was just kind of fate that I found the program. So I think like everybody, I told myself I was gonna go to New York City or LA, one of the big time cities. I did end up finding my husband, so we ended up getting married and I stayed here in Nebraska. So from there I was like, well, I'm gonna pivot and try and do my own thing under my own name here in Lincoln. So I've really started to focus on creating just custom apparel for individuals. It started out being high quality apparel for powerful women, but it's really branched into I design for women, men, children, everybody, just because everybody wants those custom looks. Kind of do two different areas of my business. I will do like the collections that get shown at Fashion Week, participate in Omaha Fashion Week, Kansas City. I've worked with Phoenix Fashion Week. So I kind of create those that are more my freedom to get creative and do what I want to do. But then the other side is doing that custom work for people. And one thing that's recently I've pivoted to is people really like their brand on their jacket. So there's a lot of small business and entrepreneurs here in Lincoln and they want to stand out with their branding, aside from just getting their logo on a t-shirt. So I've really started to make a lot of jackets and then we brand them with their company logo, and they've really started picking up. So that's kind of one area I'm branching into. I've been doing this off and on since 2017 because life happens. So one of my big inspirations, I actually ended up losing my daughter my senior year here when I was at UNL. She had a heart condition and I was in the hospital with her a lot. And if it wasn't for Professor Starkey, I probably wouldn't have graduated. But I bring this up because, I got really down. I was having mental health issues, going through the depression of it. But when I finally reminded myself, like, you just need to stop wearing the sweatpants and stop doing that and like get yourself together because it makes you feel better. So I just wanted to be out there and design things that make people feel good and that put a smile on their face when you put them on. So that was kind of an inspiration that kept me going and moving forward with it. And then kind of how the business started. I did Omaha Fashion Week my senior year as well, and people started ordering at the pop-up shop that they offer. So it kind of kept me coming back because people were ordering things. And then within the last year, I started joining networking groups, and through word of mouth, I've been picking up a little bit. So it's really helped me keep going because when it's slow, you're like, oh, this is never gonna work, but you can't just rely on social media. So I was doing that for a long time, but the word of mouth and networking and building those connections has helped build it up a lot. So my day-to-day is very busy. I am still building the business, so I'm not full-time. I do go to my full-time job, 7:30 to 4 every day, and then once a week I network for like 4 hours after I get off work. So like my Tuesdays I'm at work from 7 to 4, networking from 4 to 8, and then the other days I kind of fill in with working in my studio at home. I do work out of my house. Lucky enough to have a room full of sewing stuff, so when I get home, just depending on the orders, I I'll start working on the sewing, but then there's a lot of, you've got to create the content, you're wearing a million hats. So finding the time to create the content, post the content, write the content, order the fabric, research better wholesalers to get supplies through, and make sure that you're getting your best price for your customers. Definitely think we're seeing a lot more of that come to light, and people realizing sustainability is a very big part of our industry, because it wasn't for such a long time, and we're seeing those impacts. As far as how it's affected my business, I definitely try to come up with some ideas that are upcycled. So again, I kind of mentioned I've been making a lot of jackets. One that's been popular, I take old jerseys and I'll upcycle them into like bomber jackets or that sort of things, or at least taking something that might not be in great shape and turning it into something fresh and new. And I think that's one of the best ways you can bring it into your work, is just making sure that you're using sustainably sourced items, and if you can, shop secondhand and turn it into something new, give it a new life. It's definitely important. And then I do this, I don't know how I'm going to use it yet. I see a lot of people out there doing it too, but it's hard to do a zero waste garment, so you have all of those scraps. So I save all mine, and I know a lot of people turn them into like textiles on their own and kind of use them in that way. So I think the future for me will be finding a way to repurpose those. Overall, I think they were great at bringing in like people in the industry to come talk to you, so you had an idea of what it was going to be like, and that was always really helpful. I learned a lot from those people that were in the industry, but I feel like one thing that really jumps out, when I was working with Phoenix Fashion Week, they were big into like pricing. So I guess long story short, I did a boot camp with them to kind of build your brand, and you met with them weekly and executed X amount of steps, and you were kind of competing with the other designers that were in there, and then the winner got a prize package, and one of them was like a portfolio review with the head person at Phoenix Fashion Week, and then somebody who was a buyer in the industry and had worked for various companies. So I met with them, and one thing that really impressed them was, oh, you have your pricing sheets, and that's something that we learned in one of the classes in TMFD. It's been a while, so I don't remember the name, but they were like, yeah, you have your pricing down, and that's really great. Usually when we meet with people, they just are winging it, and you have the breakdown correct. So I think they really helped prepare us for kind of accounting for, here's how to price things, here's how to make, your spec pack, things like that. So definitely very useful. I would say my best advice is just take advantage of the fun experimental projects you get to do. I will say that's the biggest thing I miss, being trying to build my brand now. You aren't always getting to do those over the top, like, here, use this, I don't know, dryer venting or whatever it might be, to create something. You are creating more things that are everyday wear, so definitely just take advantage of the different things you get to experiment with, and your professors while they're here, get their feedback, and see what you can improve on, and really take the time to kind of hone in on what your niche is. I would say the best advice is make sure you're doing those internships, make sure you're finding out what area of the industry you want to work in, and researching the companies you want to work for. On the outside, they might look great on social media, but you could go work for them and you're not actually getting to do the designing or do the buying. You just never know. It just has to be like the late nights in the studio. I don't know how it works now, but I just remember there were nights before I had like everything I needed in my studio where our whole class would be in here Granted, we aren't big classes, so there'd be like 5 or 6 of us in the studio pulling all-nighters trying to get our projects done on time. And you just get to that point where everybody's deliriously tired, you've been up all night, so there's just a ton of jokes and just funny inside jokes that keep happening, and you kind of carry those memories and those people with you forever. I still stay connected with a lot of them. So yeah, getting to spend those late nights in the studio was always fun. So yes and no. When I was in school, I originally thought I was going to go to some big city and design for somebody else. And when I pivoted and ended up staying in Lincoln and starting to build my own brand, I realized that, this is what I want to do, because I am able to control what I design, what content my brand puts out, and my work is my work. I'm not giving that work to another designer. So I always knew I'd have a business, I just didn't know kind of how it would end up kind of fully coming together, but I'm happy with where it ended up. I would definitely recommend the TMFD department. It really changed how I viewed school before I joined it. I was not super thrilled. And if you are a creative person, it's the perfect spot for you. The fashion industry is a brutal one, but if you've got like the passion and the drive to really put in the work, it's a great spot to be in. And the faculty is there to make sure that you make it through whatever life throws you. They're gonna work with you. In my experience, I couldn't have made it through without them, and you meet a lot of amazing creative people here. So